Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
We are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Raw and Right by 25th Century Games.
Raw and Right, obviously, is a variation of the game Raw, very well-known auction bidding kind of game. Now, this is not going to have any auction or bidding in this one. This is going to be a flip and right game. And the reason why it's called Raw and Right, other than the fact that, it's a Knizia game, is that it takes the same kind of theming, same kind of iconography and artwork style and all of that, and turns it into a flip and right game with a deck of cards that you'll be flipping out so many before you get too many raw cards. And you'll be scoring throughout the course of the game during 3 different rounds, trying to get the most points in different categories that match pretty much everything that you see in Raw. Makes more sense when I'll show you these different icons and how it all plays out down at the table. We'll do that, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. Alright, I have Raw and Right on the table. Let me show you all about this flip and right version of Raw. Now, I do want to make sure you understand that what you see here is prototype, so the final artwork components, maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. That being said, this is a really nice prototype. I can't imagine that they would do many changes to it because it looks pretty final to me. Now, what you have with this game, everybody is going to get one of the score paper cards here, and you've got a whole deck of these, as you can see. There are pencils that are included in the game. Otherwise, you can just play with any old pencil or pen. And then you have a deck of cards that you're going to shuffle up and set in the middle of the table. Now, this is a very simple game, very simple setup. You literally just shuffle the cards and you're ready to go. And what's going to happen is you're going to flip over 3 of these cards for every round. And one player is going to be the active player. We're going to go ahead and move this score paper out of the way, and you'll set these cards in the middle of the table. Now, there will be an active player each round, and that active player's choice is to pick one of the 3 cards that are out here in the middle of the table, and then from amongst the other 2 cards that the player did not choose, all the other players will pick one of the 2 cards to use for that round, and multiple players can pick the same card. You just can't pick the card that the active player picked. So let's go over what are the different cards. Well, you are going to have these cards right here that have this icon with the eye on the top of it, and those cards are going to be scored on the very top line. And as you can see on this top line, there are going to be sets of 3 sets of 3. You've got this first set of 3, second set of 3, third set of 3. First round, second round, third round, and that matches up with the game Raw, which this game is based off of, if you're familiar with that game. So what you're trying to do with these lines, you're trying to have the highest set of 3 cards in each set. And if you don't fill up a set, then you're just going to be putting 0 in the empty boxes at the end of each round. And if you're the player who has the highest score for that particular round, you're going to get 5 points. If you're the player who has the lowest score for that round, then you're going to lose 5 points. You're either gaining 5 points, not getting anything, or losing 5 points. Now, if you do fill up this entire line, you're going to be getting 10 points at the end of the game. So taking a look at the cards that we have out here, we see that there are 2 of these types of cards, and it's way better to select the 19 than the 9 because this is 10 points higher, and 20 is as high as these cards get. So this is almost the highest card, so I would be more inclined to take this card over this card, but let's look at this card real quick. So this card right here is going to be the second line right here. And this is very simple. You're just simply going to check off one of these boxes. You're not going to write in the number, unlike this one right here. You would write 19 in the first box if you wanted to put it for your first round. You don't have to put it in the first round. You could put it in later rounds. It's just up to you. But this one is just going to be this first empty box that you have in this line. You're going to check that box off. And the next one you take, you're going to check that box off, and so on and so on and so forth. And at the end of each round, Whoever has the most checked boxes is going to get 5 points. Whoever has the least most checked boxes is going to get 5 points. Or going to lose 5 points, excuse me. And then if you fill up the entire line, again, you'll get 10 points. Now, I do want to point out one other thing with these cards real quick, and that's the comboing that happens in this game. Now, this is going to be true for all of the lines, but this one in particular, when you fill in a full set, that's what this is saying. When you fill in a full set with numbers, not putting in zeros, then you earn a bonus of this particular line. And so you would get to check off the next leftmost box on this line once you've completed a full set in this line. And when you get to the third box on this line, each third box on this line is going to let you check one more box on the Nile line right here, which we'll get to that here in just a second. But I want to make sure you understand the comboing effect. So going back to our example here, maybe I select this 19 and I immediately add it to somewhere in my first line. Again, I could put it in the first round, but I could put it in the other rounds. It's really up to me what I want to do for that particular line. Then the other players would get to select from these two remaining cards. And again, multiple players can pick the same card. They just can't pick the card that I picked. Once everybody has picked a card, then you'll get rid of these cards, setting them off to the side, and the next active player will go. They'll go in clockwise order, and you'll flip out 3 more cards, and you'll just repeat the same process. So let's take a look at these cards that are out here. These 2 cards are going to be the Nile card. As you can see, it's got the wavy lines on it to represent the Nile River, and that's this line right here. It's blue, like the Nile River. And what you're going to be doing in this one is you're going to be paying attention to the numbers, because the numbers in this line you will want to increase in value or stay the same. So in other words, I would not want to put this 17 way down here on this end of the line, because then I'm going to need to be putting 17, 17, 18, 18, 18, 19, 19, 19, 20, 20, 20. And 20 is the highest that these numbers go. And so you want to try to play this out to where you've got low numbers on this end, high numbers on this end. Now you don't have to play left to right. I could take this 17 and put it somewhere right here, for instance, let's say, or maybe closer down here. But by the end of it all, I want to try to fill it all the way up, because I get 1 point for every box that has a number in it, no matter where it's at in the line. And you can have gaps, that's okay. But I'll get 1 point for every box that has a number in it at the end of every round. And we'll explain what the end of rounds are here in just a second. And again, when you fill in a complete set of 3, you will earn a bonus on this line right here, which let's talk about that, because that's what this card pertains to. So these are going to be the banners that you're trying to get. There are 5 different banners, as you can see right here. And this card right here has got that grain type of banner right here. As you can see, those icons match. Now, what you're going to do is if you were to take this card, you would just simply check off one box somewhere in this column. You don't have to do it in the first round just because we're getting it in the first round. You might want to, but you could do it for future rounds. Now, you're inclined to try and get as many of these checked off before the end of the round, because if you have none, you're going to be losing 5 points. If you have 1 or 2, you're not getting any points. If you're able to get 3, then you're getting 5 points. 4, 10 points. All 5, you'll get 15 points for that specific round. Whoops, I bumped the camera there. Let's turn that back. So, I'm inclined to try to check off as many of these for that round. And if I get 3 in a round, if I get my third one in the same round, then I earn a bonus for the next line, which we'll cover that here in just a second. But that's this particular line with the banners. And again, I get one of these bonuses if I fill in 3 in a section of the Nile, checking off any one box that I want to in this area. So those are the cards that you see out here. So let's go over another example so you can get the full effect of all the cards. And here we have 2 of these monument cards. And, oh, a raw card. Now, when raw cards come out, you are going to set them off to the side and replace it with another card. So let's put this card out here. Oh, now we've got all monuments. Now, as you can see, there are going to be repeats of the same type of monument, and then there's going to be other monuments. But you have all the monuments listed on your player board, as you can see right here. And this is very simple. You are just simply whatever monument you end up taking. So if I take this 2 right here, you're going to check off the topmost box under that monument. And again, it's similar to this in that you are wanting to just check off as many of these boxes as you can. You'll get 1 point for every box that you have, or every group that you have checked off at least 1 box. So you're inclined to get 1 of each type in order to get the maximum points for every round. So if I only check off 5 boxes of monuments, 1 for this one, 1 for that one, 1 for that one, 1 for that one, 1 for that one, let's say, then I'm getting 5 points at the end of the first round. And then if I were to pick up another monument that I didn't have in the first round, now I would be getting 6 points in the second round. You get the idea, hopefully. And if I get all 8 of the top box, then I earn a wild freebie that I could use on any line, anywhere on this paper. And so that's what the bonus is right here. Now, if I do fill in all of the 8 top boxes, then I'm getting 10 points at the end of the game. However, if I get 3 of one type of monument, then I'm getting 10 points there as well. So that's an important thing to choose while you're playing this game. Now, I do want to throw out one more example because we see the raw card that's set off to the side, and we're going to set up another round, and look, another raw card has come out. And so again, we're going to set that off to the side and replace it with a new card. But now that there are 2 raw cards out there, that changes a little bit of how the game feels, because once the third raw card comes out of the deck, which could happen at any moment, then that immediately ends the round. You don't even get to play out that round in which it came in. So you've got to choose wisely as to what you're doing. And it's good that we have some of these cards out here because, again, if I didn't pick that first one that had the grain on it, earlier when I was showing you this example for this one, then I don't have any out here, and I'm going to lose 5 points. And now that there are 2 raw cards out here, I might be inclined to take one of these just so that I don't lose 5 points. And that might influence the way I play. And let's say that that round happened, and we continue, and I know where the third raw card is. It's right here. And so once that third raw card comes out, it doesn't matter what other cards are out here. You immediately stop the round. You'll take these cards over to the side, and you will score the round. And so again, you'll see who has the highest scoring of groups right here. They'll get 5 points. Whoever had the lowest is going to lose 5 points. You'll count whoever has the most checked off boxes here. Well, they earn 5 points. Whoever has the least loses 5 points. You'll give yourself 1 point for everything in the Nile. You'll get points for how many banners that you've done in the top row only. Again, losing 5 points if you didn't get any. Getting 15 points if you got them all. And then you'll get 1 point for every grouping of monuments that you have down here in the bottom. You'll repeat the process for rounds 2 and 3, and then at the end of the third round, you are going to add up all of your boxes over here, making sure to give yourself the 10 points that you might have earned anywhere else on your player board for completing different lines. You'll add everything up, see who has the most points, and determine the winner. And that's how you play Raw and Right. Now let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Raw and Right. Do also want to make sure you understand that this is coming to crowdfunding, so make sure to check out that link down below in the description of the video after you watch this one. Now, Sam, we own Raw, and we've played Raw, and it's a fun game. It's one that we enjoy. It is maybe slightly more complex than what we're used to playing a lot of times here on Love to Hate. Yeah. It's not a super complex game by any means, but just slightly more complex. This game is like not complex at all. At least I didn't think it was. Did you agree with that?
Yeah.
And that's a welcoming change with this one, I feel like, because I don't want my flipping rights to be super complex. I want it to be a quick, easy game to set up and play. And in fact, we played this in our bed.
Yeah.
So this is super easy to set up and knock out 3-4 games in this one. Just a deck of cards and your score pad. What'd you think about this one?
Well, I roll and write games are not my...
You tend to not gravitate towards those games, yeah.
Don't make me do work. But this really, it's checking boxes.
Yeah.
And so it's very limited. You're not trying to create something, which I think is more of my issue with other roll and writes.
Okay.
But I do feel like this is a game that if you don't really understand what you're doing, it's easy to kind of get, for lack of a better word, like backlogged a little bit and not really know what your goal is and lose pretty hard. So I think the second round I felt like I did, but we played it a couple of times. The second time I felt like I was understanding it better, and I still lost really badly. So it's one of those games where you play it and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to try this next time, because it is a really quick game, and there is some strategy to it. I just haven't figured out what the strategy is yet.
A winning strategy.
Yeah. I have a strategy, but it's not winning.
Well, and that's the thing about this one, because it does seem like it would be so simple and straightforward that, I'm just flipping over 3 cards. First player picks one.
Not knowing how long each round's going to be is frustrating.
That is the key part in this game, right? Because that first round can go on and on and on and on. Yes. And you're like, I'm just going to be checking all the boxes. We had a second round, which I think was like 10 cards, maybe. Oh, yeah, it was over.
And I was like, I got nothing out of that. Yeah. And so that's frustrating.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it is, like, you have that tension every time the cards come out, because as soon as 2 come out, then you're like, oh no, like, it's going to be over the very next card.
And you stop thinking about, like, what's my plan, and you start thinking about your end game.
And that's a very fun feeling with this game, because your strategy completely changes depending on how many raw cards are out, right? Like, until 2 come out, you're like, oh, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. I felt like every time it
was 1 and 2.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
They all came out at the same time. Yeah. And then as soon as that second one comes out, you've got to change everything. You've got to be like, no, okay, I've got, because this could be the end. Like, I got to make the choice that gets me the most points.
Saying. He's like, it's going to end right now. It's going to end right now. I was like, stop saying that.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun with this one. And I like the fact that all you got to do to get that experience in this game is just to shuffle the cards. Yeah. That's the setup with this one. And you don't get that a lot of times out of board games, because it requires a whole lot more work. It requires a whole lot more build-up to get to that excitement, that tension, and you get that, like, right from the get-go with this one. So that's a lot of fun to me. It is surprising, because going back to just checking boxes, it sort of feels like, okay, yeah, you took that card, I'll take this card, and I'll just check this box. But then as you start to play the game and you start to see, no, wait a second, I can combo that here, and that will lead to this that'll combo that. There's a lot of comboing that you don't maybe see initially.
And I think that was my hard part, was planning ahead for, okay, I see this could get me. I just was kind of, how do I feel?
Yeah, going with the flow, not really being aware of where some of the better turns might be. Yeah. And I think that's something that you get with this game as you play it more and more and more. Yeah. So it's deceivingly clever and very interesting than what meets the eye. Yeah. So love the artwork. Ian O'Toole, again, did a great job on this. Did Raw as well. And again, this is Reiner Knizia's, one of Reiner Knizia's better games, Raw. It's just in a flip and right form of it. And I think it stands on its own. So if you're somebody who likes Raw, don't think, I don't need Raw and Right. I like Raw. Raw and Right is going to be a great game on its own. So, one you would recommend playing with non-gamers?
Yeah, I think this one's a lot of fun.
I would absolutely recommend, if you thought maybe Raw was just too much for your non-gamer friends, Raw and Right is going to be a great one, I think, to try out with them. So, game is Raw and Right. It is coming to crowdfunding from 25th Century Games, so make sure to check out that link again in the description of the video. And while you're down there, make sure to leave us some comments.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.